Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to bring you this video today. It is a bit overdue. I know a lot of people who have been following me for a while have really wanted to know my true experiences of moving from the US to the UK. For those of you guys that don't know who I am, hello, hi, how's it going? My name is Anika and I'm American who's living in London, and I have actually lived in London for the last 8 years. But there are tons of cultural differences that I've experienced while living here and really had to adjust to. And I know that a lot of you guys that have watched my previous videos have had tons of questions about what it's really like and the differences between living in the US and living in the UK. So today I wanted to make this video for you guys so I can highlight the 5 main cultural differences that I've experienced while moving from the US to the UK. So as I said before, I'm an American living in London and I have moved to London 8 years ago. A lot of you guys might have come across my videos about how to move and what were my processes like. And today I want to talk about the cultural differences, or actually more importantly, 5 big things that surprised me when I moved from the US to the UK. And if you guys like videos like this, if you like seeing my life in London or what it's like being an American in London, please make sure to actually hit the big red subscribe button and turn on my bell notification, because I love making videos like this for you guys. So let's jump in to today's video. Now, before we jump in, moving from the US to the UK was a life-changing experience for me. I really loved every moment, but there are a few things that caught me off guard, and I hope today's video actually helps anyone that's looking to move or has newly moved so you don't feel as surprised as I did. So the first thing that caught me off guard is the weather. Now, I know a lot of people know this, and everyone told me this as well. England is rainy and it's gray. Funny enough, while recording this video, it is actually raining outside. Now, I think that a lot of people in my previous videos have said, well, it rains more in Seattle and it rains more in different parts of the world. But the thing is, in England, it is just like really humid, but not hot humid, by the way, which is what you think of when you are thinking of humidity. So when I think of humidity, I'm thinking like Florida heat, or, you know, going to a Caribbean island where it's really hot and muggy, and even like Thailand and things where it's just like humidity in that sense. But England is very humid in the other sense, in the sense that there's a lot of humidity because of the cloud cover, because of the constant rain, and there always feels like there is moisture in the air. And I know that it's not actually raining, but it just feels wet outside. And that caught me off guard completely, because A, my hair doesn't really like it when it's humid outside because it turns into a frizzy poof ball, but also it just feels like it's going to rain all the time, even though it's not actually raining. So even though we don't get as much physical rain as other cities, it really feels like it's raining all the time. And also it is gray. Like, it is gray all the time. There is so little sunshine, and when the sun comes out, it's amazing and you feel great, but the weather is gray and moist. I know I don't want to say that word, but it is. It is humid and gray. Also, to tie into the weather issues, it is also dark. So I'm going to tie this all into weather or seasons or darkness. Now, California is quite far south, or much closer to the equator than England is, but also most of the US is closer to the equator than the UK is. And because of that, the UK just has way darker winters. We actually just had time change here, which means that the sun sets anywhere from 4 to 4:30 in the afternoon. That means by 5 p.m., by the time you leave work, it is actually pitch dark outside. And in the morning, sometimes the sun doesn't even rise till 8:30 in the morning in the middle of winter. So there's a lot of darkness, there's a lot of gray, and there's a lot of wet. Now, if that excites you, amazing. London in the UK is perfect for you. But for me, as someone who came from sunny California, it was a bit of a surprise on how dark, how wet, and how cloudy England is. So the second thing that really surprised me is queuing culture. So for my Americans, queuing is lining up or getting in a line, but I will use queuing because that is the British terminology. And Brits really appreciate and know how to queue. So when you do come here, you better queue, and you better understand that it's like almost unsaid polite etiquette to make sure you are queuing. And the way I've experienced this the most is in the underground system. So when you're taking the escalator down or up, or even while you're waiting to get onto the tube or train, you will have to queue, meaning people wait on the sides of the doors and they don't just barge in. People let other people out first. And also the queue is sacred, meaning if you lined up first, you're getting on first, and so on and so forth. And so in general, there's queues. Brits love queuing. I just find it funny that when you see Brits on the street sometimes, they just are queuing. And I'm always wondering, what are you queuing for? But it is a very big and strong part of British culture. And even after 8 years of living here, the queue never ends. It just feels like everyone's queuing for something, and it's just part of the norm and the culture. And I know that queuing is something that happens all over the world, but it feels like Brits just don't know what to do if they don't queue. But that wasn't like the biggest surprise, but for me, it still was a surprise because even when you're in a morning rush hour, people are still honoring the queue system, which is important, I guess, because everyone's polite and making sure that if you were first, you're getting onto the train first. So the third thing that caught me off guard is the language barrier. Now, you might be saying, Anika, what are you talking about? Language barrier? They speak English. Yes, they totally speak English here, but it's a totally different language than American English. The English that I'm saying is totally different than what Brits say. Just like I said earlier about queuing, and that's lining up or standing in a line in American English, British English is totally different. For example, I learned this in my first job, the difference between cookie and biscuit. When someone's like, oh, do you want tea and biscuits? That's actually like cookies. But we would say cookies in the US. And then, for example, lorry and truck. So, for example, we have 18-wheeler big trucks that, cross country with goods. Here, they call it a lorry. And then also, instead of saying apartment, I live in an apartment, people will be like, I live in a flat. There is honestly so many examples of this. I could go on and on about all the language differences between American English and British English, but really, the language is so different. One amazing example I have of this is Brits like to say, you all right. Now, you all right actually means, how are you? And in my first job, when I would come into the office every morning, everyone would say, Anika, you all right? And when I hear that as an American, I'm totally gonna think, oh my gosh, yes, I'm totally fine. I'm not hurt. I'm not, in pain. I'm okay. Like, why are you asking if I'm all right? Because in the US, if you're gonna ask someone, are you all right? It's usually because something's gone wrong or something's happened that shouldn't have happened. And here, it's just a way of saying, hey, how are you? So again, huge language barrier, and it really caught me off guard because I really thought I was moving to an English-speaking country, which I am, but it's a totally different English. So the fourth thing that caught me off guard is the British houses versus American houses. So obviously coming here, I knew that everything was gonna be older, Victorian, brick houses, which is expected. London, England is a much older city and country than any part of the US. So I was kind of expecting that. But what really surprised me was how small the rooms are and also the build of the houses. It's like every room was kind of closed off in its own small little area of the house rather than an open floor plan. And in the US, especially in California, we love an open floor plan. We love open light, almost like a big expansive room or a great room, and here it's just not as common. I think it's becoming more and more common in the UK, especially with the newer builds that are happening, but more often than not, you will find everyone has a separate living room to a dining room, to a kitchen, to a study, to all these different rooms, and it's quite pokey and quite small. And granted, England and London has less space than California, so naturally California houses have more space and they're bigger, but the lack of open floor plan was really weird to me because it just felt like everything was like a smaller room rather than a big welcoming opening space. So be prepared that British houses are different. And I totally get it. Back in the day, British houses only had like fireplaces or radiators. And because of that, they wanted to keep heat in one small room. So they would close the door and keep heat in that one room. But anyways, before modern heating as the world knows it, and the houses we have in the US are built differently. So because of that, I was just so surprised with the change of floor plan and how houses are here versus how they are in the US, especially in California. And the fifth and final thing that I have to share that really surprised me as an American living in London is the healthcare system. Now, I obviously knew that there is a healthcare system, but I just didn't know how robust it is. And I know everyone's saying that the NHS is something that is dying and that it's really struggling, and especially post-pandemic, it has struggled a lot. But in my early days of moving to the UK, it was just so surprising that when you walk into a doctor or a hospital, no one's asking you for your insurance card or who insures you. No one cares about your insurance provider because everyone is insured. Like, if you are someone who is living, working, studying here in the UK, you are covered by the NHS. So meaning if you have to see a doctor or you need an operation or something, you actually will be seen and helped because the national healthcare system is something that is part of England, and it's something that's part of any citizen or resident or person who is living here as well. Now, it is not completely free because obviously if you are paying taxes or student fees, all of that is factored into it. But on the day-to-day, month-to-month, it feels like it's free compared to America because you actually do not need health insurance in order to see a doctor or go to a hospital here. Now, the trade-off is that with the NHS, you are gonna have to wait longer to be seen, or if you have like a non-emergency procedure, it is gonna take a lot longer, but that's a system that is quote unquote free. So it is a balancing act. You can also get private health insurance here in the UK. It is a thing, but it's not so common because most people do have everything covered under the NHS. So that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about my 5 surprising things that I learned as an American that moved to the UK. Now, everyone's experience is totally unique and my experiences won't be your experiences, but I hope that me sharing what I went through and what I expected versus what I actually lived through helps you in some small way. If you did find this video helpful and you liked me sharing my experience as an American abroad, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up so I know to create more content for you like this in the future. Anyways, guys, I hope you're having an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I hope to catch you in my next video. Bye!